Hello folks, welcome to V8 Productions. V8 Productions is named after the new instrument series that we just launched at Hot Rod and Restoration 2011 in Indianapolis. The new V8 gauge was just something that we rocked the world with in the industry when we launched our new series. Go online and check it out. Today, what we're trying to do here is we're working to try to improve our customer service. One of the things that Jake and the guys in the tech department have constantly come back with us is the difficulty people are having with setting up their fuel sending units. Our good friends at Tanks down in Iowa shipped us a tank to work with, and it's pretty typical of a tank that you'll see in any of your hot rods. Gather that it's not full of gas or up in your car. We're going to work for this way, and you'll just have to work with us on that. Typically what you're going to do, you're going to be getting your Classic Instruments box. And inside, I picked out my favorite series, the All-American Tradition. It's a favorite with a lot of people. Inside of that, all your sending units will be inside their package. You'll open those up and you'll find all the sending units you need. Today, we're working with your fuel sending unit. Part number SN35, which would also come with a float. Those two parts would go through. Then also inside you'll find your gasket and screw kit. Gasket, screw kit. Comes with any Classic Instruments set. From that you're going to need some basic tools that you can find in the shop. Measuring tape, hacksaw, pliers, Phillips screwdriver, and a couple other, what I recommend. I like working the nut drivers, 3/8 and 1/2-inch nut drivers. Should be just about everything you need to do simple installation. Something for you guys out there, I know it's going to be hard to understand. Read the installation manual. Follow it. It will help you. Go right to page 26, part number SN35. The SN35 is a 240 to 33 ohm resistance. That means that 240 ohms resistance measured between the stud to ground would be empty, 240 ohms at empty. Go to full, 33. We like that range, standard in the aftermarket. A little broader range gives you a little bit more readability, more accuracy in the instrument. You will find some 0 to 30s, 0 to 90s, a bunch of different other sizes, all mean the same. It's ohms of resistance between ground and your sending unit stud. When you have your tank, most of them are already there, all threaded, all ready for you to go. There is some custom tanks you'll have to do that. Tanks has that done for you. Measuring tape from the bottom of the tank to the top of your hole. Ours is 7.5 inches. So write that down on your sheet of paper. Good to have this for notes and also for reference in your car. We have 7.5 inches depth. So in the chart above, we go to 7.5 inches. 3.5 inches is what your float length will be. Note that down. We'll need that a little later. Just for instance, just so you know, this particular unit goes from 6 inches down to 24 inches deep. Gives you a good broad range. Covers 99% of all tanks. The rheostat is the white piece at the bottom. Has 2 screws, and you do need the standard screwdriver for this. Your wire connects to the top of the rheostat. If that's installed upside down, it'll work upside down or read backwards. So we're going to take these 2 screws off the rheostat. Note there is a lock washer on the back of those. Set those aside or drop them down the drain like I normally do. Take those off. Take those off. Rheostat comes off. Again, tab to the top. Take that off. Standard wire, pull it out the side. Going back to our notes, our tank depth was 7.5. Half of that is 3 3/4 of an inch. Add 1 5/8, that comes to 5 3/8 depth that we want. A little bit of math there, but we can figure that out. So, 5 3/8, permanent marker. I'm going to go 5 3/8. We'll mark the arm to where we cut. So that's from the bottom of the piece, that the mounting flange, 1 5/8, 5 3/8 is what we're going to cut. At this point, we'll take the file, clean the edges, get all rid of those sharp burrs. This kind of stuff we don't want in our fuel tank anyways, so we'll clean those up. Nice clean edges. Next, once we have this thing cut nice and even, now our depth is proper, the wire will actually wrap a little bit like that for now. You do not want to cut the length of this, keep it that length and just wrap it around and get it put away. Well, when we cut it, we're going to want to bend that at a 90, and you only want 1/8 of an inch after that. So the first thing we need to do is put measure and mark again. That was 3.5 inches, and that's from the bend to the length, predetermined length. So just lay that down, go from the bend, and we're going to mark it. That's 3.5 inches. Float length. And then you want to add 1/8 of an inch or bend, but we want that bend right at the 3.5 inches. So our bend is like so. 3.5 inches from this bend to that bend. And then once we bend that 90, we want 1/8 of an inch to cut off. A good pair of side cutters is what's used here. And you want 1/8 of an inch bent over. So we give it that 1/8. Cut 1/8 of an inch. The reason for that 1/8 of an inch in the rheostat is that this is going to go through the hole that we have here and then we'll clip in. That 1/8 clip in, if it goes too deep through this hole, it'll bind and won't work real well. So that's just precautionary. It's another thing that we see online, or we hear on phone calls. You want to clip that in all the way. Clips in. And this is where the 90-degree really comes into play. You can push that piece in a little bit with your screwdriver. Don't slip and cut yourself. And we have it working. And again, there's 2 clips on this rheostat. You'll see when you get your 90 in there, you get that 90 snapped down. There's 2 clips that hold this shaft. You want to make sure that you're square to your rheostat this way. And here's the most important part. Once you have this piece, again, if we got our connection at the top, that would be empty. This is full. You want to make sure that that part drops and floats by gravity both ways. Again, this is going to sit down in the tank, empty, full. You want that piece to drop freely. If it does not drop freely, more than likely, where you made your 90 that goes through the piece, it's too long, and you need to just pop this out, clip it again. Again, that free is the most important part. We're going to mount this back onto the piece, the rheostat arm, We want to mount that back. So you want to get your screws started. We'll start it on the arm. Watch it, there's no grain around, so that way you don't break down the grain. Screws are back in place. Just want to get those snug. You can see the center of the pivot arm through the two holes here, and what we want to do is take half the depth, which is 3.5 inches. Hold that. Get our marker, 3.5 inches. Mark your 3.5 inches. And then we want to add 3/16 of an inch. So 3/16 of an inch. Add 3/16 of an inch. Get your center rod, or your center of your pivot hole there. And tighten your screws. Okay. This is where we want to snap in our wire. And again, you're going to wrap the remainder around the drop. Most important, that this floats freely. Ours does. You don't want to over tighten these screws. You can collapse it. You just want them good, snug. You don't want too tight, but you don't want that moving around in there. Most all of us just throw it in the tank, go in, put it in the car, fill it full of gas. We did something wrong. So, very simple thing to do. What we have is just a jump pack, carried in most garages. We want to take the fuel gauge, plug in, take our fuel gauge, power, the I post, G to the ground post, take a jumper lead, take this one, go to sending unit, and we're going to hook up this as well. The biggest key here is that you need to ground the plate as well. This plate needs to be grounded, which would be on the tank, but that's what we have to do to test. Full, works well. Empties all the way empty. You can go about half tank. It's reading half tank. And full. We've got a nice sweep, everything's smooth, gauge is working fine. Simple, easy test. If you had the gauge in the car, say that our gauge was already installed, you would do the same test, but all you'd do, hook your gauge up, hook your sending unit up without your tank, just put it up in the car, key on, move that float up and down and have somebody up in the car saying yes it works. Again, remember to ground the mounting flange, just run a jumper cable to it. Simple test, saves you a bunch of time, energy, and effort, filling a fuel tank up, putting it up there and dropping it down.